So it's hilarious to me that the MAGA people are so triggered over Trump's being sentenced and being convicted and being sentenced on a 34 count felony. They're like, well, how did a 4-count misdemeanor become a 34 count felony? And then they act like the Democrat, like all of a sudden just made Trump a felon. Let me explain to you MAGA people how things work without getting into the intricacies of the charges. Okay, prosecuting attorneys, they don't just declare people indicted. That's not the way that it works. They have to present evidence to what's called, if you haven't heard of it, a grand jury. And the grand jury decides whether or not they're going to indict on each of the counts. So a grand jury, which is a group of people that are selected at random that are supposed to represent a broad cross-section of whatever area they're chosen from. And they, hearing the evidence presented by the prosecutor, decide whether or not there's enough evidence to indict on each count. So a grand jury indicted on each of the 34 counts. Then a trial took place. And at the trial, Trump's defense team, if you can call it that, he had the most inept bunch of knuckleheads for lawyers ever. They did an atrocious job. And there was a decision, there was a court decision after hearing evidence on the 34 counts that Trump was guilty of all 34 counts. So, it's not like it's just some liberal making it up. That's the way the judicial system works. And the Trump people, they could do anything they wanted in the trial about to assert defenses, do whatever, get better lawyers. Quite frankly, this was the weakest of the cases against Donald Trump from an evidentiary standpoint. It is something that was potentially able to be defended. But you're supposedly a fucking billionaire. Get better lawyers. But nobody wants to work with you because you don't pay your fucking bills. And you're a liar. So you don't want to work with people that are liars. You can't have clients that are liars. It is a problem to lie. It's an ethical problem to lie. It presents myriad legal issues when you lie. And all Donald Trump does is lie, which makes him impossible to defend, impossible to represent. So that's why he has a 34 count felony where he was convicted and where he was sentenced and where he will forever be a 34 count felon. There is no basis to appeal it. The courts won't touch the appeal. They've denied the appeal. The Supreme Court wouldn't delay the appeal, which indicates to me there isn't really a basis to overturn it because there aren't any legal errors. There have to be fucking legal errors. It can't be, well, it's just a conspiracy by the Democrats. That's not enough. And you talk about the Clintons and the Obamas and the Bidens and all the other people. If there was evidence to have indicted Bill Clinton enough, it would have been done. They would have tried. They didn't have the evidence because there weren't any crimes. There weren't any crimes with Biden. There weren't any crimes with Obama. There was no evidence. There was nothing. If they could have gotten them, they would have gotten them. So there wasn't. The only person we've had, only two people who've been president of the United States other than Andrew Johnson, who have had enough evidence to bring criminal charges against are Nixon, who had the honor to actually resign because he actually felt sorry for what he did, whereas Trump, he feels like he's a victim. So he was twice impeached, and he was had multiple criminal trials going against him. And the only reason he isn't having to fight off multiple criminal and seditious charges of sedition, which is a crime, is that he won the presidency. So he could basically undo the vast majority of these prosecutions and essentially pervert the legal system. But it's not because there's some grand conspiracy against him. It's because he was indicted and he was convicted in a fair trial, and they had the opportunity to appeal. They didn't appeal the right way. They didn't do things right because they're shitty lawyers. He gets shitty lawyers and shitty sycophants around him and garbage people, because no one that has any respect or for the rule of law or cares about the United States wouldn't be anywhere near this motherfucker. So that's what you're dealing with Donald Trump. He was given every opportunity, and, don't act like it's some big conspiracy, because he deserved the conviction he got in the 34-count felony, which he was sentenced for. And he deserves a lot more than that, but sadly, he's not going to get that, because that's the way America works.